Here are 3 things to watch out for so that you don't get DQ'd. So someone posted something very interesting on Facebook, and he basically said that they DQ a racer for just installing his rear bumper inverted, whereas in other countries they allow this type of installation provided everything is out of the box. This gentleman goes on to say that we have the strictest box stock rules among all the countries. We DQ users for using the wrong cowl lock, installing additional screws, installing parts inverted style. So how can we attract young racers if we would DQ racers for simple installation style? Good point. So here are the reasons why they might legitimately DQ someone for those 3 items. And I'm going to talk about a 4th item too. So the first one, users for using the wrong cowl lock. So that's this thing right here. This is the cowl lock, the little body catch right here. And yeah, you might think this is no big deal, but if you weigh this cowl lock versus another one from another kit, such as the S2 kit, Super 2 chassis have lighter cowl locks than VZ chassis. So if you want to lower your weight just a little bit, you can use a different cowl lock, but that's not allowed in box stock. You can do that in tune class, but not in box stock, unfortunately. So you have to use everything that came in the box. You cannot substitute parts from another kit into your kit. So that's a very important rule, and I can see why that would be a DQ. The second one is installing additional screws. Now you saw in the video that I posted prior, this little image right here, basically there were 4 screws on the underside of the mock frame in that picture. So here you see a standard mock frame has 2 screws, and you have the option of placing it on the top 2 screw holes or the bottom 2 screw holes. It's your choice. I did point out the fact that you can actually install a 3rd screw, and that's all within box stock parameters because there is a screw right here on the gear cover. So if you choose not to use that screw, you can always place it here, and then you'll still be within the confines of box stock. However, depending on the event and the racing organizer, he or she might say, no, you're only allowed to have 2 screws to secure your brake. So it depends on the race. It depends on the event organizer. It depends on how everybody else is feeling too. If you're always winning races, people are going to find a way to DQ you. And I know it sounds unfair, but that's just the way it is. Sometimes certain racing events, they want certain people to win, so they're going to find any and all ways of DQing a car. So you have to be on the lookout for that. Just try to stay within the box stock rules for that event, and you should be fine. So then the 3rd item is installing parts inverted style. So here we have a legit tail that's been installed properly, as you see here. It goes on top of the 2 screw mount on the rear, and you see it has this little thing right here. I don't know what it's called, but as you see here, this is the proper way of installing this. So inverted style, when people are complaining about, oh, you installed things inverted style, you're taking this whole thing and you're flipping it upside down. So I have an example right here. I attached this like so. And you might wonder, well, what's the big difference? Why is that not allowed? Why is that a DQ? I'm going to show you why. And it's a subtle reason, but it's a valid reason. It's the same reason that I gave in the last video for this brake being on the front versus the back. If you place this brake on the rear 2 holes, you can definitely put the brake on these 2 holes here, but the big problem is it will likely not clear the 1 millimeter clearance underneath. So let's take a closer look at this and this phenomenon. So if you take a look at this, this definitely clears 1 millimeter. If I take my 1 millimeter measurement gauge and I slide it across, you can see it is clearly under the screws of the rear mount. So now let's take a look at the so-called DQed one and see why it was legitimately DQed. So yeah, there are things that you probably shouldn't DQ, but here is one that you probably should, and here's the reasoning why. It's because with this thing inverted, yes, it fits. It fits on there properly with the 2 screws, but look, it's not clearing. So as I slide this underneath, it's actually sliding and almost tapping on the screw. So why would you want to do this? Why would a racer want to do this? Invert the rear part of this. And why would this be DQ'd? Well, it's DQ'd because it doesn't clear the 1 millimeter clearance. But another reason why this is not allowed is, well, you're basically creating a brake right here with this very low rear roller mount. So now the screws are acting as your brake. So when you're going over an incline, it's going to prevent this from potentially coursing out. So does it give you a 0% chance of coursing out? In other words, is it going to always guarantee that you never course out? No, but it's going to lower the odds that it will course out because of this inverted style. So a very intelligent racer out there started this whole trend with the inverted rear roller mount, and I had discovered this myself, like independently, but I knew that this was not going to be allowed because it doesn't clear the 1mm clearance underneath. So I refrained from using it and telling people about it because, I don't want to promote things that are illegal. So here, yeah, it looks like it could potentially be legal, but if you look at this closely, yeah, it just doesn't clear the 1mm clearance underneath the car. So don't do it. This would be a legit DQ right here. And it sounds like it's like a nitpicking and stuff like that, but it's kind of not. So here's one way that you can actually get this to clear. And I don't recommend this to anybody because it is something that will likely not occur more than occur. And by that I mean here. On our mock frame, I mentioned in the previous video that if you place this on the rear, it's not going to clear the 1mm clearance unless this has been raced multiple times, dozens and dozens of times, and under harsh conditions, harsh tracks, where this is continually scraping on the track itself, and eventually this will flatten out so that you will clear the 1mm clearance. It's going to take so many races for that to happen. So over time, after racing this dozens and dozens and dozens of times, yeah, maybe your screws will flatten out a little bit more, and maybe you will clear the 1mm clearance. But until that day, by the time that happens, this car will have been weathered so greatly that you probably don't want to use it anymore. And then it's time for a new car, time for a new build. Yeah, unfortunately. So I know the frustration that a lot of people have with VZ chassis, the fact that these rollers hang off the ends of a track, especially on high-speed turns, things like that. So a lot of people are frustrated with the VZ chassis. A lot of people are also frustrated with mock frames and other FMA-style cars that are very lightweight because they have a tendency to corkscrew on the lane changer. So yeah, if that's happening, then you might need to just build another car, build another mock frame or build another VZ chassis car. That's the same one, because chances of that happening with every single VZ or FMA mock frame kit that you build are slim. So it's possible that you can build 5 mock frames and 5 VZ chassis cars like this, the Race Sphere, and you'll course out in all those times, but that 6th time that you build your VZ or FMA mock frame, it's not going to course out, and that's the golden car. That's your car that you're going to use for all of your box stock wins. Yes. So yes, while these 3 things are very harsh, they do have a reasoning behind them. And so when you just hear the magical letters DQ, don't be offended, because there's a reason why they're DQing you. And it doesn't sound fair sometimes, and life isn't fair sometimes, and sometimes they'll actually DQ you for something that's really, really stupid. Like maybe there's a racing event out there that doesn't like the fact that I'm putting extra stickers on my car from the sticker sheet, right? So there might be events like that, and they'll DQ me for that. And it's like, well, what can I do? They made up the rules. I'm racing on their turf. So yeah, they could do whatever they want, basically, to someone that they don't know or someone that they don't want to win. So that's unfortunately the way the ball bounces. So the 4th thing that I think is a total legitimate DQ is if you use different wheels and tires on your car that weren't meant for the car. So for example, let's say I really, really like my black pink car, which is, what is this? This is the Super Avante, right? Black Special. And I say to myself, oh, I like this so much that I'm going to put these carbon wheels on there. That's not allowed. That's a DQ. I like these tires on here, these low fricks tires. I'm going to put them on here. No, that's DQ. That's DQ. Even if you use, this is ABS plastic now, and these are super hard tires. Even if you use wheels from another kit that are ABS plastic and super hard, same material for the wheels, same tire compound, it would be DQ'd in certain events because you're not using the kit parts. So whether that's considered a legitimate DQ or not is up for debate, and I would say that I would not like that to happen in my racing events. So here's the reasoning why. We know that all of these wheels weigh a certain thing, right? A certain amount. So this style of wheel is going to weigh a little bit different than this style of wheel versus this style of wheel. So these wheels here, there are different styles, and they're going to weigh different things. So if you're placing different styles of wheels on your car, that's going to change. That's going to change the weight of the car. And so that's a legit DQ, I think. And using super hard, moving super hard to super hard, right? I don't think that's a DQ, but some people may beg to differ on that. It would be a DQ definitely if you're using different colors, right? But depending on the racing event, they might not care. But I personally feel that it shouldn't be a DQ if you're using the same tire compound, but some people have like a ranking system, right, for the different rollers that are out there with the rubber compounds. So I can see that this might also apply to tire compounds too, because the tires are also rubber. So it depends on the racing event, the organizer, how strict they are, and that could actually be a legit DQ using even the same tire compound but different colors. So that could be a legit DQ. So yeah. So it seems like everything's so harsh, right? It seems like, well, if you set up all these rules, it's not going to be fun anymore. And that's totally true. For beginners, like a lot of beginners, they build these cars, they try to follow the instructions, and sometimes they just fail or they don't do it totally right. And I see all of these mistakes on cars. Like here, like you see here, the rear wheels are wider wheels than the front ones, and I've seen people like mix and match them. I see people placing like a wide here and a narrow here, and then vice versa, so the thing ends up kind of like not going totally right. And you know, that's like a beginner's mistake. So I don't think that's, and if there's some speed difference there where it's actually improving your speed for whatever reason, I don't think that's a DQ. I think legitimately the person, the beginner, was like, well, I tried to make this the best I can, following the instructions the best I can. I guess I just missed that part that said that you have to do this. Well, the same could be said about this, right? It's easy to just assume that you can put this on the bottom like this. I don't see a huge problem with like someone putting something like this on here like this if it's just a mistake, right? So if it's just a mistake, it's a beginner's mistake. He or she didn't know. He or she probably looked at other kits where you do put the roller mount on the bottom and was following that, right? So if your previous kit was of a chassis style that allowed you to put the roller mount on the bottom versus the top, that's where you got the idea from, and that's where you're like, oh yeah, maybe I should also put this on the bottom here instead of the top. Like that's legit. Legit meaning it's still going to be DQ'd, but it's legit thinking that like this person did not have the intention to cheat. This person legitimately thought that all of the roller mounts were installed exactly the same way across all the chassis. And so I don't think you can really penalize somebody for that. You can just basically take them aside and say, hey, this is not quite right. You have to fix this. So instead of outright DQing somebody, instead of just saying, oh, you're not allowed to race that car, just tell them why it's not legit and give them a chance to fix the error, right? Don't just disqualify them outright. Give them a chance to fix the error so they can come back and hopefully not be DQ'd, and allow them to race. Because if too many people get frustrated with all of your DQ rules, they're not going to come back. And we need this hobby to grow, especially in countries where this is like a fledgling hobby. So you can't just DQ anyone and everyone just because of your own whims. You have to give them reasons. You have to teach them so that they can grow as a racer. If you start DQing anyone and everyone who's not your friend, it's not going to be a good thing. It's just going to alienate them. They're going to hate the hobby forever. They're going to pass the word on that your event, your rules are just too harsh, and why would they go back to your event then? You might think that, oh yeah, I've got all these people that can race in my event. I don't need them. No, you do need them, because if enough word spreads around that your event is not quite on the up and up, nobody's going to come to you, and that's not good. And that's going to put a tarnishing on the hobby itself. So that's not cool. Everybody's got to help each other. We have to help elevate each other. We can't just push everybody else down. We have to elevate each other, make everybody stronger racers, because we need the strongest racers we can get when we're competing out there. Always winning, that's a cool thing, but you also need to help other racers, the fledgling rate, the beginning, but you also need to help the beginning racers grow. Very, very important. Yes. So everybody, if you like this video, please slam the like button, subscribe to my channel, and you'll see more videos just like this one. Until next time, everybody, see you. Bye.